But you know, it's just one of the things. I ain't going to cry over no spilled milk. It is what it is.
At the moment, he's retired and he's not showing any signs of coming back. To be fair to him, I think he will personally. But until he does, it's just
deal with those 2 losses. Do you think that might be part of why he's announced this retirement?
Must be pretty struggle with any loss. The fact that he's lost the same guy twice must be absolutely destroying him. It must be. You know, I can't help but think, you know, he's got a mental health condition. He's bipolar by all accounts, and you know, maybe he's having, you know, a turn where he probably feels like he can't hold on to reality. But
Conor Benn has dropped a shocker after being released by police. Rather than confronting the fallout from his failed drug test and recent arrest, he's now hinting at retirement. For many fans, this doesn't look like a dignified exit. It feels more like avoiding responsibility. On the other side, Chris Eubank Jr. is still locked in and ready for battle.
I don't have to fight, right? You know, so I'm sitting there going, well, you got to just, now thinking, you got to take your hat off to me and Chris, man, for being the way we are, being the fighters we are, you know, against all odds.
Yeah.
Against all odds of achieving anything in the sport.
And that brings us to Benn's own admission about how difficult this situation is for him. But simply calling it hard to accept won't sit right with boxing fans. This isn't about losing a close fight. It's about failed drug tests and a police case. Each excuse only damages Benn's credibility further. While in contrast, Chris Eubank Jr.'s standing in the sport continues to rise.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard one to swallow, man. Yeah. It's a hard one to swallow. I mean, obviously, I didn't come into the fight thinking...
Frank War describes Benn as a fighter who looks not just beaten, but shattered. His silence tells its own story, choosing to let his team speak for him instead of facing the consequences himself. In contrast, Chris Eubank Jr. has always fronted up. Even in defeat, he takes responsibility and doesn't shy away from the spotlight.
I haven't spoke. I'm not his manager, by the way. I'm his promoter. But I haven't spoke with him. I spoke with one of the team yesterday. He's obviously quite dejected and down. But you know,
Eddie Hearn pushes the conversation even further, openly questioning if Benn will ever step into the ring again. He doesn't mince words, expressing serious doubt that Benn can recover from the mess he's in. And honestly, who can disagree? A failed drug test, an arrest, and now whispers of retirement. The road back looks nearly impossible. On the other hand, Chris Eubank Jr. continues to stand firm, showing what true resilience really means.
British fight fans, because we've got a chance to make the biggest fight in boxing. But, you know, if that is the last we see of him, he's had a great career. I doubt it. But, you know, it's always best to come into retirement to make sure someone pays you to come out of retirement. But if that's his lot, much respect to him.
And here we are, a boxer who once carried huge expectations, now making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Arrested, caught failing drug tests a third time, and now retreating behind retirement talk. This isn't drama, it's disgrace. As Carl Frock pointed out, Benn might keep speaking, but his reputation is crumbling right in front of us.
He's not going to fight again. He'll still make noise, he'll still talk a bit of bollocks and still go back and forth. But I don't think he's coming out of retirement anytime soon. Frank
wore an attempt to paint a kinder picture, applauding Benn for his role in British boxing. But let's be honest, what has he really contributed? 3 failed drug tests, an arrest, and now a retreat masked as retirement. The real shame isn't that Benn is walking away. It's the way he's tarnishing the sport while doing so. Fans want a Warriors showdown with Chris Eubank Jr., not endless scandals and excuses. In contrast, Eubank Jr. has taken his losses on the chin, never hiding, always owning up. War may praise Benn as special, but history will remember his career for controversy rather than achievement. He had every chance to silence the critics, yet his silence today only echoes guilt. Meanwhile, Eubank Jr.'s name continues to rise, appearing sharper and more respectable than ever.
So questions here this afternoon about whether we will indeed see him back in the ring. I suppose it's difficult for you to say, Frank.
Well, it is, but I don't believe we will. I think that's the decision he's made. And we've had, what he's given.
Daniel Dubois took the criticism to another level, aiming straight at drug cheats. He didn't sugarcoat it. Fighters who rely on banned substances should step aside and let the real warriors do the work. And he's absolutely right. Boxing is built on discipline, sacrifice, and respect for the craft, values Conor Benn has ignored. One failed test is already damaging, but 3 failures followed by an arrest? That's beyond forgiveness. His so-called retirement isn't courage. It's a way of dodging the punishment and questions he should be facing. Du Bois voice what every clean fighter feels. The ones who grind in the gym, cut weight the hard way, and step into the ring without shortcuts. Chris Eubank Jr. embodies that honesty. He doesn't need enhancements to prove his ability. That's the clear contrast. Eubank Jr. represents real boxing, while Benn has turned himself into the face of shame. Du Bois just said what many were already thinking. Conor Benn no longer deserves a place in the sport.
Find the people that are, doing that sort of thing. So, drug cheats need to, they need to step aside and let real fight.
Eddie Hearn has now confirmed the harsh reality. The British Boxing Board Control has flat out refused to license Conor Benn for a fight. That decision says it all. A man once viewed as a rising star has fallen so far that even the sport's governing body no longer trusts him in the ring. Imagine that level of humiliation. Both Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. know what this really means. The showdown fans craved is officially ruined, and the contrast between them has never been starker. Yes, Eubank Jr. has faced criticism in his career, but he's never been banned from competition, never failed a test, and never faced police over performance enhancers. The board's verdict is effectively the final nail in Benn's career, closing the door on any chance of redemption. Hearn may try to soften the message, but the truth is clear. Conor Benn has burned every bridge left in British boxing.
What he's actually saying is that we're not sanctioning this fight. There's ongoing conversations with the lawyers and the British Boxing Board of Control. Obviously, we want everyone to be comfortable. Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr. are aware.
Spencer Oliver and Simon Jordan summed up the mood across the boxing community. Drug cheats don't deserve a second chance. And really, who could disagree? Conor Benn didn't just slip up once. He failed multiple tests and dragged the sport's reputation through the dirt with his arrest. Allowing him back would send the worst possible signal to every young fighter trying to make it the right way. As Simon Jordan bluntly put it, Benn should be done and gone. Boxing's credibility depends on athletes like Chris Eubank Jr., fighters who grind, sacrifice, and step into the ring without shortcuts. Benn chose the easy road, and now he's facing the harshest reality. Exile. This isn't revenge, it's a warning. Cheat, and there's no way back. His so-called retirement is simply the sport delivering its own verdict. Whether Benn admits it or not, Oliver and Jordan are speaking the hard truth in a game already bruised by scandal.
And I've always been strong on that. I've always been strong on the fact that I don't believe in giving them a second chance.
You're basically saying no 3 strikes and you're out.
No 3 strikes
and you're out. No. 1, you fail a test and gone ski.
Absolutely, because I just believe then that moving forward, people would think twice about doing it. If they think, well, you know what, I'll get a second chance anyway.
Don Charles laid it out with no hesitation. If you're caught using banned substances, there's no coming back. And he's right. That's the harsh reality Conor Benn cannot dodge. 3 failed drug tests, an arrest, and now a career crushed beneath its own disgrace. Boxing isn't a playground where cheaters get a second run after paying a fine. It's a sport built on bravery, sacrifice, and fair competition. Charles also pointed out how the governing bodies have fallen short, but at least the fans aren't blind. Supporters don't want excuses, staged emotions, or weak talk of retirement. What they demand is accountability, and that's where the difference shows. Chris Eubank Jr., whether you like him or not, has never ducked testing or been dragged through scandals. His reputation only looks stronger now. Benn's, on the other hand, is no longer about promise. It's about disgrace. And in a sport like boxing, repeat offenders have no place left to hide.
Drugs, I mean, this is very unforgiving. You can't, I'm sorry. Provided he's been found, it's 100% that those substances were found in his system, it's unforgiving. And you know what? I blame the governing bodies because I don't believe that they imposing heavy enough.
Johnny Nelson summed up the confusion perfectly. calling for an immediate investigation. Because let's face it, this isn't only about one fighter's downfall, it's about how the entire sport deals with repeated violations. Conor Benn failing test after test, yet still managing to slip through loopholes, has left a permanent stain on boxing's reputation. Fans are asking the obvious question: how can someone get caught multiple times and still continue until outrage forces action? Nelson admitted the arrest hit him hard, just as it did for everyone else, which shows how sudden and shocking this collapse really was. Truthfully, the moment Ben was arrested after failing multiple tests, his career should have been over. Instead, the debate has turned into retirement versus punishment, a sign of how badly the situation has been mishandled. The reality is, Chris Eubank Jr. deserved better, British fans deserve better, and the sport of boxing cannot afford to sweep another scandal under the rug.
There is going to be, there needs to be an inquiry straight after this. Why, what? But that's what I'm hearing. This news is as fresh to me as it is you. I'm quite sure when this goes out, it'll be all over the place anyway. But all I can say is he passed the.
Chris Eubank Jr. couldn't have been clearer. In his eyes, if you fail a drug test, you lose the right to equal pay, the right to negotiate, and the right to respect. That's the brutal truth Conor Benn is now facing. What was once hyped as the biggest domestic showdown in years, a clash of family pride, reputations, and British bragging rights, has collapsed into a one-sided tale of shame. Eubank Jr. now stands as a cleaner fighter, the figure of integrity in this rivalry, while Ben is left drowning in scandal. No matter how much his team tries to spin the narrative or how loyal his supporters remain, the reality is unshakable. Ben failed again and again, and even his bargaining power is gone. In boxing, money often speaks loudest, but in this case, it slipped from Ben's hands. Eubank Jr. doesn't just hold the higher moral ground. He holds every advantage. Meanwhile, Ben walks away with nothing but a reputation that's been permanently stained.
You fail his drugs test, you don't get 50-50 split.
No. No matter commercial power pulling, no.
You don't get 50-50 split if you fail.
The Conor Benn story has thrown British boxing into turmoil. 3 failed drug tests, a public arrest, and now a so-called retirement that looks more like an escape. His name is tied to controversy, and his legacy is in tatters. Yet out of the chaos, one figure's come out stronger: Chris Eubank Jr. If this matchup ever does get revived, the stakes would be massive. For Ben, it would be a last shot at redemption, a chance to prove he can fight without shortcuts. For Eubank Jr., it would be the ultimate statement. Taking apart a rival who was once hyped as a future, but destroyed his own reputation. This is no longer just about talent inside the ring. It's about mindset, self-discipline, and respect for boxing itself. Eubank Jr. has always faced his defeats head-on, while Ben has collapsed under the weight of scandals. So, the real question now, can Eubank Jr. restore pride to British boxing, or could Ben somehow pull off the unthinkable?